everybody. So today I'm answering a question that was actually asked by my husband and many other people. It is, why do you need so many tarot decks, Robert? The answer is, I really don't, but I like them. Um, each deck has a different vibe to it, a different voice. And depending on how your clients reacting to your reading, sometimes you need to shift gears. So I start off with the Ryder Waite Smith deck, but from there I can tell which direction I need to go, how I need to relate to my client, my querent. But the truth is, I have five, five, five main decks that I use, but I keep 12 on my table, and this is the picture of my 12 decks. I'm very happy with them. I have about 30 others hanging, 40 others hanging on hooks, tea hook cups in my room, which is cool. I like it that way. Let's go over the decks that I use in professional readings and why I use them. Okay, so the first deck I'm going to talk about is your standard Ryder Waite Smith deck. They are the images that people are familiar with, the ones that have been used in movies most, the ones that most tarot readers are comfortable using. It is the Granddaddy deck. Arthur Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith put this deck together. She was the artist. Now, here's the interesting thing. For a long time, Pamela Coleman Smith didn't get any credit. And recently, she's finally getting the credit for creating this amazing tool. The artwork is stunning, and it has been copied and quote unquote improved upon. That's debatable. But it is the go-to deck for a lot of readers, including myself. It's the one that I start off with. The reaction from clients when you use this deck is they're comfortable. It's a starting point, which is what I like. I do empathic tarot card readings, which means I bond with my clients like we all do. But I do a healthy dose of empathic work with them. The probability of me using this deck forever is very high. I love it, and it is just going to be in my lexicon. Next up, we have the Tarot of Dreams by Ciro Marchetti. I really should have put these in order so I could show you guys. But the Tarot of Dreams has amazing artwork on it. You see what that is? But it also has astrological associations printed on them for just quick reference. True, you don't need astrological symbols on your cards if you... Oh, yeah, and they also have the Hebrew letters associated with them, which comes in handy, because I cannot remember what those letters are, no matter how hard I try. We all know that the minor arcana is split up. Aces don't have astrological symbols. 2, 3, 4 is cardinal signs. 5, 6, 7 is fixed. 5, 6, 7 is fixed signs, and 8, 9, 10 are mutable signs. So although you don't need it, I can never remember the planetary associations that go along with the minor arcana. I just don't have no matter how hard I try, about half of them I know. And I've been doing cards for 50 years, 40 years, 50 years. If you're having trouble getting started with astrology and tarot, then the Ciro Marchetti deck is a good one to work with. The artwork on the deck itself is dreamy. It's just gorgeous. Let's see, what else do I have on here about the Tarot of Dreams? Oh yeah, I do use this for making sense of my dreams, and it's a stunning deck, so I do keep it for clients just because they like the pretty pictures on it. I don't lean too far into it in readings unless they say I'm having weird dreams, and then I break out my Ciro Marchetti deck. I love it. It's definitely not as hard hitting as some of the other decks. So if you like lighter, softer decks, I fully recommend getting one of Ciro Marchetti's decks. Okay, so next up, we're getting serious now. The Murder of Crows. That's the Ace of Wands. Excuse me, tremors. The Nine of Pentacles. Now, we know that in the Ryder Waite Smith deck, this card is a beautiful woman holding a falcon, looking pleased, enjoying life. It's a similar image, but definitely darker. The World card. Sorry, I do have tremors in my hands. It's a darker deck. It's published by Llewellyn. I use this deck when someone sits in my chair that has an edgier vibe, or if they think they're a badass right from the jump, which happened last week. I went for a reading and there was a really tough guy sat at my table, and he ended up breaking out this deck without even using one of the other decks first, because I could just tell his vibe was gonna relate more with this deck. And sure enough, he had a great reading, took my card. We're set up for future endeavors, hopefully. But if I used a softer deck in that reading, I don't think I would have been able to connect with him in the same way. Like, the Two of Cups is a union, but in this deck, it has a slightly different vibe to it. So if you're really interested in a deck that is fraught with images of crows and plague doctors, then get this one. It's definitely a darker edge vibe. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't pull any punches, this one. The Darkwood Tarot is my next deck. It's from Llewellyn Publishing. The author is Sasha Graham with art by Abigail Larson. And this is another deck that I use for shadow work. Okay, it's definitely got a comic booky vibe to it. I have notes I'm trying to read from you guys. They are gorgeous images, but it's not a deck that I use for the general public very often, unless it's somebody that has a real chill vibe and we're starting off, like, for instance, this is the Emperor card, okay? It has a different way of speaking, as all decks do. This deck has, the reason I got it is my friend Brandon was using it and I fell in love with it. The Fool, come on. That's a great image. There's one more image I want to show you. Here we go. The Chariot. Okay. So this is why I have so many different decks. Everything is slightly different, and professional readers or people who have been with tarot cards for a long time understand this. But relaying that to the general public, not so much. The Lost Soul Tarot is my next deck that I use. I got it off of Amazon. I couldn't find very much about this. It is my favorite pip deck because of it's just simple. Now, there's three things I really love about this. Like, we'll use the King of Swords here. The black background, reminiscent of decks like the True Black Tarot, but this is obviously a wannabe knockoff. But there's no faces on these cards. See? Hangman. Who else? Give me a card without a face. Ah, okay. The Fool. Isn't that adorable? Anyway, pip decks. I have maybe two that I've found so far that I like, but this is my go-to pip deck. It's got gold foiling on the edge, so it is pleasant to look at for your clients. It's got the images, but here's the fun part. I love the back. And when you're laying down a spread, visually it looks good. Visually speaking, this next deck the Heaven and Earth Tarot. Oh my gosh. I can't say enough about the Heaven and Earth Tarot. Not only is it gorgeous, and the artist is Jack Sephiroth, the author is Jamie Elford. I'm not really sure about that. They have credit on the box, but there's not too much that goes into it. It's probably the deck that I use most for second spread because I usually lay out 3 or 4 spreads during a professional reading, and each spread takes it to a different level. So we started off, let's do a comparison in the artwork. Hold on. I should have done this beforehand, but I wasn't really planning on making this video tonight, but I need to kill some time. So let's just do it. The Heaven and Earth Tarot has the Golden Dawn meanings printed on them, as well as astrological symbols, the Hebrew symbols, let's see, what else does it have? Hebrew, astrological, planetary. I'm looking for the Emperor. Emperor, where are you? If you look at the Ryder Waite Smith version of the Emperor, it's the traditional male figure, father figure that we all know. This is the Heaven and Earth deck. It is very similar. The entire deck has similar art. There's the Hierophant. But as I was saying, if you look on here, you've got the planetary association with all the cards, the astrological associations, the Hebrew letters, It's just a great study deck, and I push it on everybody I meet, all of my friends. If they don't have the Heaven and Earth deck, I kind of push for them to get it. So, next up, we have the Deviant Moon Tarot. And this is from artist Patrick Valenza. I love this deck. I love the back of this deck. Now, the skinny cards take some getting used to. You know, 'cause you see I have tremors and it's difficult for me to work with the cards. But this deck is worth it. I will learn, or I have learned to use it, I should say. Is from US Game Systems, Patrick Valenza. I just love this deck. I have the borderless deck. There is a deck that comes with borders on it. It's an incredibly abstract and bizarre deck full of moon-faced people. Henceforth the name Deviant Moon. Okay. It's interesting because I use this more for reading for other tarot card readers than I do for clients. I don't know why. It's just harder for them to open up to another reader without putting their own spin on things. And I found with the Deviant Moon, we don't have that problem. What about the Deviant Moon? In fact, I just read for a friend of mine yesterday with this deck, and it nailed the reading. So it is a strange and twisted deck, but since I myself am strange and twisted, that's justice right there. What do you think? Since I am strange and twisted, it works just fine with me. So the next up is the Lorenzi Tarot. I just got this last week. I like the backs because they're not black and they're not white. They're beautiful gray. Now, this deck is special for a couple of reasons. It is larger. It's like Oracle card size. So if you like that, groovy. I use it in spite of the size, not because of the size. Irene Lorenzi has created a deck that rides the line between delicate and bizarre. I love the gray-white background, as I said. The major arcana are full of people and human figures. But the minor arcana, well, that is full of mythological beings. Swords are represented by birds, mythological birds, not just birds. The cups are sea beings, pentacles are terrestrial beings, and wands are represented by fire beings. It's a deck that focuses on duality, and I am here for it. I am a practicing witch. And the images on this, since they deal with duality, speak in a certain tone that I really love. What threw me, I'll be honest with you, is when I opened it up and saw the Hermit card, homie sitting there with a cell phone. And that took me by surprise, but I got over it real quick. I love this deck already, and I've only been using it for a week. I'm very happy I broke down and got that one. Now the next one. I'll be honest with you, I don't use in readings very often. But I use it in the same way as the Murder of Crows. If somebody sits at my station, I need to be able to vibe with them. Some of them just have a different vibe, right? We all know that. This deck was created by Fabio Lestrini, Listrani. I can never say his name right. Listrani, the artist, and I call it my sexy deck. It's described online as reflecting the teachings of great occult masters like Aleister Crowley and others in the occult world. If I use this deck in a reading, it's because I'm trying to shift the paradigm of the reading. Matters of lust and things like that are usually what I use this deck for. And the reason being, I'll pull up a couple pictures for you. I like the Fool card. I think that's cool. I like that. He's got a chaos symbol on him. This is the Devil card. It's very comic booky. If you like the Scarabeo decks and Fabio Listrani, I have one more deck by him we're going to talk about. Almost all the women in here are showing their tetas, and the men got booty everywhere. But it's a great deck. It vibes with certain clients in a great way. And one of the things I like about this deck is the backings of them. And I would be happier if it were an image that can be read either way when you lay them down. But, you know, I'm fine with it. I can handle it. So, now we've covered 7 of my favorite decks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of my favorite decks so far, with only a couple more to go, you guys. Put that backwards. Okay. Next up, the Healing Light Tarot. As tarot readers, we want to be there for our clients to help bring them healing and clarity. Clarity above all else, healing if possible, and to help set them on a path or recognize certain paths. The Healing Light Tarot, I love it. It's from Llewellyn. The artist is Chris Butler. If you talk to me for more than 5 minutes in person, you're going to hear me bring up Mr. Chris Butler. He is without a doubt one of my 2 favorite artists, Fabio Listrani being the other one. I can't tell you how much I love his artwork. I have several of his decks, including the Healing Light Lenormand, which has very similar, this is the Lenormand, this is the Healing Light Tarot. It has a very similar aesthetic going through the images. This is the images in the Healing Light Lenormand, and this is the images of the tarot. Everything about this deck is amazing. I think this is one of the images that sold me when I was looking online, the Hanged Man. See, and if you notice the 2 overlapping circles, that theme is carried out throughout the deck. What it represents is the mandorla. Let me make sure I say this right, because I've said it wrong before. The image of the mandorla is carried throughout the deck. The oval-shaped portal created, let me show you, when the 2 circles overlap, that is a point of healing. It is the symbol of the divine feminine, and where it opens, that little almond shape in the center, there is healing and wholeness. So this whole deck is designed to bring healing, wholeness, and completion. I cannot recommend it enough. The Quantum Tarot, Healing Light Tarot. These are my favorite decks to use. I use the Quantum Tarot personally. I don't use that in readings because it's just become one of those decks that speaks to me, and I'd like to keep it safe. The same thing with the Oracle, the Hecatean Path. I love the deck. I love the artwork, but it's for devotional use. I don't use it for clients. I use it for personal use only. The Healing Light Lenormand comes with this great book here. It is extremely helpful, and since it is from Los Scarabeo, it is provided in several languages in one book. Check out his stuff. My next to get Chris Butler deck is the Sun Tarot, S-O-N, and it is a deck dedicated to or dealing with the gay experience, the gay lifestyle. And that's all I know about it. I don't have the deck, but I'm going to get the deck, and I'll be doing an unboxing when I get it. Let's go on to the second to the last deck, the penultimate deck. One of the services that I offer is called Advice from the Ancestors. And that's pretty much where I connect with my ancestors who connect with your ancestors and pass on messages through the cards and my insight. What I use for these readings is the Day of the Dead deck, the Santa Muerte deck, and it is from Los Scarabeo. It is Fabio Lestrani. I told you there was one more deck. This is it. I love this freaking deck. And this is why. It's a Day of the Dead deck. And being Hispanic and Latino, well, both at the same time even, they vibe with me. This is the Three of Cups. Okay. Although they didn't wear sombreros, this was my childhood. I remember the noise from the family getting together and discussing things. I remember the food. I remember the good times. I remember the celebration. This is a deck that I use to connect with ancestors who have gone before me. I have some wonderful aunts who were also, I don't want to say witches, but they were definitely psychics. A couple of claimed to be white witches. That's a whole nother topic with me. This is the High Priestess. I love this card. Look at her key that she is holding. All right. Remember what we were talking about? The Divine Feminine, the point of healing. This is it. I love this deck. It's not a deck that's gentle. It's a deck that says, "Pendejo, what are you doing?" Because that's what my family would have done. And since I've been using this deck, I've been able to heal some of the trauma inflicted by other members of my family growing up. I can't carry that around with me forever. I've got other things to do. My energy needs to be spent in other areas. I'm in my mid-50s now. I've carried it long enough. Let it go. Let it go. The last deck that I'm going to talk to you about is from US Game Systems. This is the back of it. It is by artist and author Nora Paskaleva. And she's created a deck that's incredibly useful. Each card has on it actual talismans. Can you see on his arm? Actual talismans that it comes with a booklet, that LWB booklet. It's more akin, I'll dig it out somewhere. I don't want to do it right now, but it's akin to one of these books. And it teaches you what the card meanings are, how to relay the information, what the talisman is. And the best thing about this deck is that it comes with a little booklet of vellum paper. And what you do is you take that paper and you trace out, there we go, you trace the symbol onto the vellum, roll it up, and it's called charging it. You charge it in the fire, and you're basically saying, activate. So it's not only useful during tarot readings, but if you are a practicing magic user, awesome deck. Please check it out. I think that's all I had to say on that deck. It's a witch's tool. It's a tool for tarot card readers, but it is a witch's tool too. It's a magic user tool. What I do with this deck, it's how I close out my readings. I lay out a 5-card spread, Earth, Air, Fire, Water, Spirit, in a star pattern, but then I lay the last card in the center of the star. So you've got the 5 elements and a final message. And what I tell my clients as I'm laying it down, I say to them, and the final card I'm laying down for you today is, and that lets them know I'm closing this reading. It lets my ancestors know, my deities know I've gotten all the info we're going to deal with today. Let's close it out. And it's useful when I do that, because as soon as I say in the last card I'm laying down for you, your client starts putting together everything that we've said and getting their questions ready. And after that is when I take the questions. What are you unclear about in these spreads? What have we touched on that you're not absolutely sure about? Can I make anything more clear for you? Can I deal with, can I do anything for you? I don't want them getting up from my table confused. If I've rattled off a bunch of card meanings at them, figure each spread is a minimum of 10 cards, and I'm laying down 4 cards. That's 40 cards. They're not going to remember all those cards. You have to give them a general thing to take with them. And I've narrowed down all my tarot cards to these decks. These are my go-to decks. They're definitely not the last decks I'm going to purchase. Over time, these decks, some of them will be rotated out and new ones will be rotated in. It depends. We'll just see how life goes, and I'm interested to see how many decks you use. What are your favorites? Leave some comments for me. Let me know what's going on, all right? See you on the next video. Bye.